Hi, everyone. Bill Rentschler alongside Megan Conway in the 1011 Now streaming studio. It is another edition of Juicebox Chats.
Yeah, good morning, Bill. Good to see you. Episode 2.
Episode 2.
As we
episode
start our
1
new,
yesterday.
Yes, our new streaming adventure here together.
It is.
Yeah, if you're interested in episode 1, it was, of course, all about back to school stuff. We were talking about how my daughter Aurora started kindergarten and, you know, the trials and tribulations of starting that new chapter in your child's life or, you know,
Back to
just starting
school.
another year.
Yeah, it can be tough. And so, again, all this week, we're obviously live again here this morning, and we're going to be with you again tomorrow. And it gets all kind of back to school kind of theme.
Right. But today we're focusing on safety. Yeah.
Because there is a whole can of worms that you, as parents, you know, a lot of people in the newsroom, don't necessarily have kids. That's fine. And so you and I and Kevin Suits and John and Taryn, we walk around with a slightly different set of concerns than maybe some of the other folks in the newsroom.
Yes, and a larger load of worry. I'm constantly thinking about, what could go wrong or what to prepare my child for as much as I possibly can. But kids are a pretty big variable in a lot of life.
They are. Well, and again, it's one of those things where I have to constantly remind myself, and I'm sure you do too, that they don't know that yet. They like just don't even know that they're not supposed to do that because it could kill them or whatever else it might be.
Where I think it's common sense, and then my daughter's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." I was like, "Oh, of course you don't.
How did you not know that?
Of course you don't know
you're
that.
6. Okay.
And all of your 5 years of life, you've never experienced that, and myself as your parent should be preparing you. So we're going to go over a few things today to maybe if you have or haven't even thought of it as a parent, you've got a lot on your mind. Maybe this is your reminder to address something specific.
And
safety.
so we kind of talked, we could talk all day long about all the different things. We don't have time in the day to go over everything. But we kind of mentioned it yesterday. One of the first things we want to talk about, again, with school coming back is walking to school.
Absolutely.
And I feel like I don't know if it's me. I feel like we do less walking around than we used to.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
I agree.
When we were kids. But just taking walks through the neighborhood and like, hey, crosswalk. What do we do at the crosswalk?
Yeah.
Looking for traffic, looking both ways twice before we go. Just good things to kind of go through with your kids, especially if your kids live close enough to school that maybe they are going to walk home to or from school. Yeah.
My kids don't walk to school, but I know you have experience with that. But we do walk our dogs around the neighborhood. So we really talk about, Aurora likes to ride her scooter too. She's pretty quick on that thing. She zooms down the street through our neighborhood. And, I'm always like, hey, stop at the corner, check for vehicles, check for cars, And so it's just so important to really instill that in them.
The question is, though, does she then ride the scooter all the way back home? Because when my kids are on their scooters out in the neighborhood, we'll get out to like the farthest point, and that's when they'll be like, I'm tired. Will you carry my scooter back?
She does pretty good. I will give her that. She does pretty good. She's really quick on it. But then, I'm pushing Riot, my son, in a stroller still because he's 1.5. If I tried to do a walk with him, it would just not be successful.
No.
So he's still in the stroller. So if Aurora gets tired of her scooter, I can maneuver it like under the seat to kind of like stick it in there
Some
for
storage.
her. Yeah. So then I don't have to carry it at least. So her biggest complaint is her helmet. They get kind of tight under here or even on her head. And when it's sweaty, she's always like, can I take it off? No.
So would you rather be a little sweaty or would you rather have a big boo-boo on your noggin?
Exactly. I always tell her, I'm like, you got to protect that big brain, girlfriend. Got to take care of it.
So yeah, it's not a huge thing. It's obviously pretty basic, but just reviewing all those very simple basic things.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, I'm like, I know this. Like this is common sense. But again, like you're so new at life that you haven't figured this out yet.
And I think really a big thing too is if you're able to find an older buddy for your child to maybe walk to school, if they're a little on the younger side, that really helps too, to like remind them every day if they have a little helper along the way if you can't be there as a parent.
Yeah, and undoubtedly there's another family, child in your neighborhood that lives close to you that is probably going to be walking to school. I know my kids, again, we're going to try this a little bit more this year. There's a handful. There's going to be a neighborhood gang roaming the streets of my neighborhood.
Do they have a name for their gang?
Not yet.
You
I
need
mean,
to come up
it
with
will
one.
be a new gang once my kids join the club this year. So we'll have to come up with something.
Yeah. You'll have to let me know. I'll be interested in hearing what the new gang is in
I'm
town.
gonna throw a curveball at you just
Okay.
because this seems to kind of go a little bit more in the flow. But I'm gonna skip our section 3 and go to section 4 here.
Oh, okay. We're off script. Buckle up, buckaroos. Here we go.
First it's like focusing on the sidewalks, but now it's like on the streets.
Yeah.
And this is again more for the adults who are driving around,
Mm-hmm.
being mindful of traffic, especially with school zones.
Yep.
Our reporter Matthew Mitleiter just last week had done a story. Starting yesterday, LPD was doing more enforcement around school zones. And again, it's kind of like the first snow of the year. Everyone just needs like a little reminder.
Yeah.
Like, this is how we do this.
Yep.
But he had said LPD over the last 3 years had given out more than 800 citations for speeding in school zones. About 40 of those were going between 21 and 35 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Over? Oh my goodness.
So 25, that means on the very high end, they're going up to around 60 miles an hour through a school zone.
That is terrifying. You just have no time to react if a child were to dart out in front of you at that speed.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Add to my list
Anxiety.
of worries. And anxieties. But again, my kids aren't walking to school, so I shouldn't worry about that. But sometimes I worry about things that they aren't even involved in.
It's what we do as parents. It's what we do.
But yeah, LPD reminding this week everyone to just slow down, watch those posted speed limits. You know, there will be the flashing lights as well around the school zone. So should be another reminder, another little indicator for you that you're entering into one of those zones. I really need to slow down.
And it's one of those things where it's like, again, when you're out driving and you all of a sudden you're like, oh, shoot, I'm in a school zone. Like, just, like, whatever. And, like, it doesn't sound like a big deal in the moment, but when we show you on the news when you're arrested for, like, criminal speeding because you're going 65 in a school zone, everyone's going to be like, this person's a jerk.
Yeah. It's our kids.
And it's just like, come on. And
the school zones aren't that large, you know? I always feel like when I'm driving through one, you don't have to go that slow for very long, and then you're out of the school zone again and happily on your way. So just take a second. Nowhere is more important than the life of a child. And
your fines are doubled in a school zone.
Yep.
So again, according to Matthew's report he did last week, usual fine ranges up to about $600.
Oof.
So
that's a lot of groceries.
Have you kind of been a jerk? You're also out potentially $600.
Yep. That is a good chunk of change. So.
And then also when it comes to school buses, when the bus's lights are on and the sign is extended, both sides of the road have to stop.
Right.
The only exception to that if there's a median between the lanes.
Yes.
Between you and the bus.
Yes. That is so important to not fly around those school buses because you just never know when that child is going to be crossing this way, even if you think they're going the other way, right to the house. But that's what I always rode growing up. I rode the bus.
Bus is great.
Oh, it was
bus
one of
is
my
super
favorite.
fun. I didn't get to ride the bus going to school. So, like, field trips were really exciting.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah, I of course, I grew up on a farm, lived in the country, so we always rode the bus. And, I'd stand out at the end of the lane with my brother waiting for it to come around the curve and everything. I loved the bus. It was amazing.
Yeah,
so.
my kids always get a kick out of riding the school bus on the field trips.
I bet.
But now a lot of times it's like they get, at least at my school, they're like, hey, can parents drive? And so it's just like you're
really?
Like carpooling.
To field trips?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think sometimes it's still the bus, but sometimes it's also like, hey, can we get a couple parents to stuff as many children in the car as you can? And you get like 4 or 5 car seats in the car or booster seats.
You get to the field trip and it's just like opening a clown car where they just all pile out.
I mean, it's always a clown car when it's just my vehicle with my children and my family, but even more so, sometimes when you're doing that. So walking to school, go over those tips. Drivers, just be smart.
Yeah.
Mind those school zones. And then another one of the things we want to talk about was cell phones,
yes.
Megan.
That's a big one.
I think I was a freshman in high school when I got my first cell phone.
Okay.
And it was a Nokia brick cell phone. And I think all I could really do was play Snake on it.
Yes, I had that same brick phone. I think I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
The first year that my folks let me get a phone. Also because when I went to 8th grade, the school was now in one of the neighboring towns because my school's consolidated. So 8th grade was the first year that we were consolidated. And instead of being a quarter mile from my house, I was now about 20 minutes down where they were having the middle school in Bartley.
Okay.
And so, I was still riding the bus at the time. But my folks thought it was important for me to have a phone that far away for, calling them for after school activities too. If I got out early, it wasn't like they could zip over in less than a minute. It was a planned trip down to get me. So yes, I also had the Nokia brick.
That was indestructible.
Oh, it was. I played a lot of Snake, and mine, I specifically remember it had a red Hawaiian flowered case on it. And I was very good at the T9 texting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was memorized. I could do it under the desk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My teachers didn't know. That's fine.
That was good times. And so, again, obviously, I don't think for us it was too much of a distraction. But nowadays, again, cell phones, especially in schools, it's gotten to that point. Growing up for us, it was kind of like stranger danger. Watch out for the
safety.
But now it's like, hey, on your phone. It's either like, again, parents aren't giving their children phones or it's just you got to be so careful of what they're doing on there.
Well, and not only that, where they can meet unwanted individuals, but it is a computer in their hands that can give them the answers to anything. So instead of learning like we did, when we didn't have that readily available to us, or using the resources in the library or other resources at school, they can get it all on their phones.
Looking something up in a dictionary or in an encyclopedia.
Yes.
They won't know that.
No. They won't know the smell of those lovely old books. I actually like that smell a lot. The library.
It is.
Yeah. Nope, they won't know that if they just have the cell phone and have it readily available to them with a couple punches of a button away.
And so I think most schools' policy basically is like just blanket, like kids can't have phones. And so obviously in the school setting, that's great. But again, for parents at home, screens, whether it is a phone, whether it's an Amazon tablet, iPad, this is a good time of year, again, a good touch point. Again, we'll hear from Josh Planos with the Better Business Bureau here in just a second, and he kind of goes into this. But just a good touch point to review privacy settings and things like that on if your child does have a device. Again, my kids don't have their own phone yet. They do have an Amazon tablet and stuff like that, but there's a whole bunch of parental controls on there and privacy settings and the like.
The same for our kids. We really set that up pretty tight, where they can only go to specific places to watch things, or can't really search around on YouTube or anything like that, because you just never know what kids can stumble into, and like we talked about, them not knowing about common sense things with life, they're not going to recognize those dangers that they've never been faced with before.
It's tough. My oldest, again, who's obsessed with lawnmowers, he just wants to watch YouTube videos of guys' setups of their lawn care trucks. Yeah. You can't really get that on YouTube Kids necessarily, so he likes to stray into the big YouTube, and we're like, sorry, buddy. So what we'll do is we'll download those videos and get those there
you go.
So that's you're not getting any of the ads.
Yeah.
Or any of that stuff. And it's just there it is.
There you go. Yep. This is the one thing you can access.
So,
yeah.
I mentioned it, but I did get the chance to talk with Josh Planos from the Better Business Bureau on Monday of this week. Again, Josh is always great talking about kind of the latest things to kind of just watch out for. And so have an interview with him. We're going to go ahead and play it out for you here. It's a couple minutes long. So let's go ahead and listen into what Josh has to say. Well, Josh Planos from the Better Business Bureau with us, again, talking about back to school time. Josh, there's tons of stuff when it comes to back to school that parents need to be on the lookout for, ranging from watching out for scams for back to school supplies, tech computer stuff, and that whole can of worms to, maybe you're sending an older kid off to college for the first time. I guess from your perspective, from the BBB, what are some of the biggest things that, parents, whether they're sending their kids to kindergarten for the first time or maybe kicking them out to college, kind of need to know about?
Well, first and foremost, I think having a general sense of what it is that you're trying to spend on that experience is a really helpful step that a lot of folks seemingly bypassed. There are studies that recently came out that suggest that families are going to spend an average of $570 per child this year. you don't want to spend that $570 in the first week before school, right? And a lot of families are getting ready for the holiday season, not too far off. So you want to make sure that you have a general sense of what it is that's expected of you to provide for your child before they enter into school, whether it be on the college end, textbooks and an apartment or an on-campus housing opportunity, or at the elementary level, whether it's school supplies, backpacks, things of that nature. So having a general sense of what that budget looks like is a really good way to weed out a lot of pitfalls that seemingly a lot of families experience each August and September. There is a lot of information available that I think folks like to have access to. A lot of that information's online. And sadly, what we find is that most of the scams that are reported to us involve online shopping. So even if it seems like it's a fantastic deal, that's really probably when your gut should kick in first and foremost. Is that deal too good? Why can I get all of these items for that amount of money? Just because you see it on Instagram or just because you see it on your social media timeline does not mean that it's real. So it's a good chance, each August and September to do your research on what these things kind of cost, and to avoid some of the things that seem like a little too good to be true. There's a lot of information too that's out there on privacy that I think a lot of folks bypass. So when you have kids starting school, there's a lot of information that gets passed along in that back to school photo. There's nothing wrong with uploading a photo of your child going back to school, but including your physical address, the address of the school, the student grade level, all sorts of like biographical information about that child. If your privacy settings aren't tuned appropriately, that can be really damaging information. That information can be used to create all sorts of composite reports, fake online personas, things like that, that you would never want, right, associated with your kid. So it's not to be so much that you need to be afraid of uploading information, but really think about whether or not that post is worth the risk that comes with sharing that information about your child. Because sadly, we are in the information age, and that information is being aggregated by folks, some of whom are not really interested in celebrating that back to school experience.
Yeah, it should be a really fun time. So again, like you said, making sure, still post the picture, but just make sure you know who on the other end is able to see those things. Is it just the friends or family that you want, or is it, basically anyone anywhere?
And really, this is a good time of year to have a conversation with yourself and your family about privacy settings, right? So all of these counts have different settings, right? And each of them come out with kind of new guardrails each and every year that aren't exactly communicated with the consumer. So having a conversation about what that privacy setting is going to look like, what kind of information we as a family want to share. You could see that as like a branding exercise, but it's really more about information security. We don't want information that's going to be shared that's going to impact the safety of anybody in this household. So here's how that's going to look. We're going to do an inventory of our social media accounts, and we're going to suggest the strictest possible privacy settings, because that doesn't mean that your friends aren't going to see your posts or your information, but that does mean you're going to have a little less likelihood of your account getting compromised or somebody coming into access with your account who you really don't want to engage with. So those are, kind of some small things. You could even take it a step further and say this is a good time of year to update our passwords so we can ensure that that information is as up to date as possible. We'll have software updates. We'll go through software updates with those new devices we are purchasing for our children who are going off to college, so that we can know that they're going to be a little bit more secure. Really, it's an opportunity to have an inventory of privacy, right? Privacy and security settings as a family.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just a good opportunity, to have a touch point, not only on that, but just so many other different things, whether it's budgeting, whether it's like, hey, this is how the kids are going to walk to and from school. These are the things they need to know if they're going to walk to and from school. And so BBB has a great resource for, again, parents, whether it's, parents of young kids, parents of old kids, for them to kind of see some of this information. BBB.org, /back to school should get them all that information.
It should. And I do think that this is another opportunity to underline the importance of having open conversations just as a family. If something makes them feel uneasy, unsafe online, if they feel threatened online, open those communication channels. There is no reason to start a year with any sort of closed off attitude. Let kids know that you're there to listen and to help. This is a really exciting time of year, and you just want to make sure that they have every avenue possible to explore, and that they have the ability to interact when they do need some of that feedback and some of that inspiration.
All right, awesome. Josh Planos from the Better Business Bureau, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Josh is always fun to hang out and talk with you. He's always got sort of good things to keep top of mind kind of throughout the year.
Wealth of information every time I hear from him. So, yep.
So tomorrow, I think we're going to talk about sleep, which, working a morning shift, just how important sleep is, not only for parents, but for the kids too.
Every second matters. Every second. And yes, and we know for parents, kids struggle sometimes with sleep, with the going to bed, staying in bed. So yeah, we're going to talk about just how important that is.
All right. So appreciate everyone for tuning in, watching again another edition of Juicebox Chats. Hope everyone has a nice Thursday, and we'll see you tomorrow.